valedictory speech on behalf of the graduating class of 2015. This class of 2015 has undoubtedly been one of the most successful and outstanding classes of SVN's high school history. Therefore, we are proud to have victoriously held the baton high in yet another leg of this school's race to the top. At this time, I would like to pay homage to the man who envisaged and materialized an institution that has the foundation to consistently achieve greatness, Swami Aksharananda. Since 2003, he symbolizes the Disney for adults. He makes parents' dreams come true by creating an ideal schooling environment for their children. Everyone, an applause for Swamiji. Undoubtedly, the most valuable players in this room are our teachers. They are SVN's technical team. They go above and beyond call of duty to make this place phenomenal. The notes we neglect reading, they burnt the midnight oil preparing. The SBAs we cried to complete, they have to go over it 50 times fold. If our teachers did not guide our intellect, we would not be as happy as we are today. Honor your teacher and honor your parents before you can honor your God. Because as my father says, here it is better than where it is. Everyone, please, a standing ovation for our teachers. Thank you. Most certainly, praise must be given to those whom we all have stemmed from. No amount of sweet words can express our love and gratitude towards our parents. So today we thank you for the greatest gift on earth, life. In addition, we thank you for your best wishes and your sustenance in our time of need. In spite of what anyone says, our parents ultimately have our best interests at heart. Everyone, a round of applause for our parents. Now, graduates, we all know that every student has had his or her fair share of disappointment and upset. Things may not have always gone the way we planned, but we must agree that this class was resilient. We survived 2012 Doomsday. We survived Agri class on every single holiday. And we survived Ebola. The fact that we made it here, decorated with these awards and accomplishments, is just a testament of our perseverance and commitment to excellence. Shakespeare said that some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. In life, we can't always count on being born great or having it thrust upon us. But always remember that the opportunity to achieve greatness is forever within our grasp. Today, we are not only celebrating our own success, but we are marking a great achievement for our country. We are the children of this nation, and our efforts are Guyana's fortune, and our accomplishments are Guyana's triumph. Guyana has always been known to produce some of the greatest intellectuals and social heroes of all time. Forbes Burnham, Dr. Chedi Jagan, Sir Sridat Ramphal, and even our own president, that is, with us today. However, keep in mind that many of these social and political leaders started their lives as just an average person. Despite the failures and mistakes we will make, and although we may be just average, we find that the average can achieve greatness, whether recognized by the world or just by a few. Before I conclude, to the current batch of performers, your work and effort today is going to fill a large part of your life tomorrow. The only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Find the fun in your journey here in high school. And remember that tables turn, bridges burn. You live and learn. And oftentimes, it's the journey that teaches you a lot about your destination. So, follow your dreams and do what makes you happy. Strive to be the best version of yourself. Fly through the turbulence and live life because you are a warrior. Graduates, we made it. As a group, we did indeed start from the very bottom. And now, I bet we wish the whole team was here. Today we all graduate. Some fallen, but never forgotten. In this instant, we may all feel immortal. We're supposed to feel exhilarated. We're graduating. Let us grab life, live and fashion it. Like our brief 5 years of high school, nothing lasts forever. Ironically, what makes life valuable is that it does not last forever. What makes it precious is that it ends. We know that now more than ever, and I say it today to remind us that time is luck. So don't waste it living someone else's life. Make yours count for something. Fight for what matters to you. Fight to realize your dreams. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, Swamiji, Justice Nandram Kasoon, Dr. Samdat Mohabir, Ms. Bonita Harris, special invitees, teachers, most of all, graduating students of the class of 2015, fellow Guyanese, Namaskar. I'm happy to be here this evening because I've often passed the school, and whenever I had to speak at another school, I said, if you want to see what a school should look like, pass by SVN. Over the last 12 years, SVN has risen to be one of the finest secondary schools in Guyana. It is continuing to rise. It is now a household name. And of course, as you know better than I do, it is named appropriately after Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, of music, of arts, of wisdom, and of learning. And I think that the SVN itself means the abode of knowledge, of the goddess of knowledge. So your home, the home of wisdom, the home of knowledge. I'm happy to be here this evening on this very pleasant campus, surrounded by symbols of faith, by symbols of wisdom. First of all, of course, I must congratulate the students who are graduating, not only on my own behalf, but on behalf of the government of Guyana. Anyone who knows me, anyone who knows about what I've been saying on the campaign trail for the last 5 years would know I've been calling for Guyana to become an education nation once again. I was taught in school by a person called Cyril Potter, and I have abiding respect for teachers and for the teaching profession. And of course, privately, and Bonita would tell you this, I loved her mother dearly, Mrs. Olga Bone. And I always quote one of Olga's favorite quotations: if children cannot learn the way they are taught, teach them the way they can learn. That is what she taught me, and I never forget that. There is no backward child. You just teach the child the way he or she could learn. And that's what I learned from Bonita Harris's mom. Thank you, Bonita. Today, I've come also to congratulate the school itself for its 64 CSEC passes and for the 7 CAPE students. This institution has made individual successes possible, And I'm confident that we are now just at the start of a powerful secondary institution in this country. So, in congratulating the school, in congratulating the students, I'd also like to extend our thanks to the parents, to the guardians, the teachers, and the mentors who made this possible. You, the members of the class of 2015, do not feel that you've come to the end of the road. You are indeed at the beginning of another stage of a long road. Today marks a continuation, not a termination. And let me tell you something I learned 2 weeks ago from Mr. Ban Ki-moon himself, the Secretary General of the United Nations. And he said, Usain Bolt doesn't stop running at 50 meters. Remember that. Don't quit. Don't stop running because you're halfway there. Do like Usain. Just keep on keeping on. So you, the students, must go on. And I'd like to announce that in addition to the certificate that I gave the valedictorian, Ms. Victoria Najab, I'll be giving her a check for $100,000 to support her studies through CAPE as well. So it's 2 pieces of paper she'll be getting. Education is one of the greatest gifts that you could ever receive in your life. And this evening, I just want to discuss 2 of the most important qualities that you would have learned here at the SVN. The first, and I must repeat what Swamiji said, values. You must ensure that you learn at these institutions values. Without those values, your knowledge is hollow, it's meaningless. Education has a pivotal role in shaping your character, in shaping your moral development. Most important in a society like ours, and I say this with some pain because when I was doing my A-levels, as it was called then, and O-levels, this country was in the midst of very, very serious disturbances, which I don't want ever to see again. And in this country, we must learn to respect each other. We are a country of different religions, of different ethnicities, of different cultures, of different geographical areas. And we have to learn to respect each other if this country is ever going to be united. I have covered every single region of this country, and I'm pained to go into some parts of our country, or this Guyana, not overseas, and to see children coming out of school 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and not one of them is wearing a pair of shoes. So don't feel that we understand what goes on in the rest of this country. Some people may be rich, but a lot of people cannot even afford shoes to go to school. Guyanese children, right here, 2015. So Guyana is a very complex society. It's made up of persons not only of different ethnicities and religions. We're all children of God, and we all deserve to be treated equally and with respect. This school has contributed to shaping your character, along with the mandir and masjid, along with your home. But this is a religious school too, and it teaches values. And let me say this, I went to 4 primary schools for different reasons. I don't have to tell you the reasons. I wasn't thrown out of any. But when I was at Bartok, I went to the St. John the Baptist Anglican School. And when I looked out of the window of that school, I saw the St. John the Baptist Anglican Church. Then I went to the Quarantine. I went to what is then called the Auckland Church of Scotland School. And when I looked out the window, I saw the St. Saviour's Presbyterian Church. When I came to Georgetown, I attended the Communist Moravian School. And when you looked out the window, you saw the Communist Moravian Church. You get it? When I went to Sacred Heart School, the class I was in the church. So you can't separate the two. You can't separate the source of your faith, your religion, from your academic studies. And I always believe that we might have thrown out the baby with the bathwater. I know the reasons, because under the old system, for Mr. Natu to become headmaster at the Upline Church of Scotland School, he was a Presbyterian. And the headmaster at Sacred Heart was a Roman Catholic. And the headmaster at the St. John the Baptist Anglican School was an Anglican. So we need a more fair system, but we also need a system which combines the values imparted to us by our great faiths, Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam, because those faiths teach us precious lessons which we cannot learn out of school textbooks. So let us bear that in mind. I was listening very carefully to Swamiji, because he also made a comment about co-education schools. I had the benefit of going to a boys' school, and you had to travel halfway across town to see the other gender. But when you're in school, you focused on what was in school, and you had to leave everything else till after 3 o'clock. But that's another story. Swamiji and I will continue our conversation. You, the graduating class of 2015, are no longer first formers. You've changed, you've grown physically, you've developed intellectually, you've matured emotionally. And the education that you've received here has aided your personal growth as well as your intellectual development. This process is not entirely the responsibility of the state. It is part of the responsibility of the entire community, of the entire society. Education itself is a part of the process of socialization. So, over the last 5 years, or however long you spent here, you will also become better members of society. Because this school, the SVN, doesn't exist in the clouds. It is part of the Essequibo Islands, West Demerara region. You've learned to understand what is acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable behavior. And it's not for me today to speak about unacceptable behavior, because I might start to cry when I see young people. When I see young people starting their school life on the Naming Primary School, then graduating to the Camp Street Secondary School, and then going on to the University of Mazaruni. We are wasting lives, and too many of our young people are spending their entire adult lives in the penal system. Right now, according to the Guyana Prison Service, 75% of the inmates are classified as youths. They should be here, graduating, not in jail, stagnating. The second value which I'd like to leave with you this evening, apart from acquiring those cultural and moral values, of course, is the value of acquiring knowledge. Education does provide you with the knowledge and the skills to become functional citizens. You first enter this school as students, but you would have been ignorant of a lot of things. And the education that you've received over your years to bring you up to CSEC and CAPE would have reinforced, would have expanded, would have deepened your knowledge of the things that you knew before and of the world that you see around you. You've acquired a great deal of information through this school, and this information was imparted to you not in the form of cramming, but in the form of bringing out what you should have in you as human beings. I had a headmaster and a school teacher at school called Dut Not Hetram, and he was a Latin teacher. He explained what education really meant. Education means to lead out. Meaning X, out, and duko means I lead. So education is what is led out of you. So it's in you. And that is what it's all about. It is not making you a stuffed duck. It is making you intellectually competent to think for yourself. So it is not just about being able to read, write, count, and spell. It is also about being able to make choices, informed decisions. And many people do not make the right choices, even though they might have passed through school, even though they might have acquired a great deal of book knowledge. They don't make the right choices, and some of them end up living broken lives as drug addicts or even criminals. But not because they're stupid, but because they make the wrong choices. So education should help you to make those choices, to think critically and creatively. Don't accept everything as true or false. A good education encourages you to keep on inquiring, to be inquisitive, to have a critical mind. The biggest question in life is why? Don't be afraid to ask the question. If you're a journalist, if you're a student, if you're a lawyer, ask the person why. Somebody tells you something, even if the person's an adult or a teacher. Why? And that is the start of knowledge. So, these are the two messages I leave with you this evening. The acquisition of values and, of course, the acquisition of knowledge. Class of 2015, if you appreciate these two purposes that I outlined to you, then you'd appreciate that the education you receive from SVN, your school, will be a lifelong experience. Your intellectual capacity would have been developed. Your emotional maturity would have been developed. You'd have been socialized in society. Your education would have impacted on your character, on your conduct. You would leave here being capable of thinking more creatively, more critically. I'd like particularly to embrace the Swami's call for SVN to be converted into an STEM, an institution that teaches most of all science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And let me say, do not take the Swamiji's words lightly. Even though I'm not a scientist in conventional terms, I always tell the story of having gone to my secondary school, my alma mater, and at that time, it had the best science laboratories in the entire country. And out of those laboratories came a generation of scientists, people who can build a bridge across the Demerara River, some of our finest doctors and researchers, some of our finest engineers came out of the chemistry laboratories, the physics laboratories, the zoology laboratories, the biology laboratories of Queen's College. And at that time, we had a headmaster, an Englishman, who actually created a special form called the fifth remove, so that students who had passed their ordinary levels in other schools could come into the sixth form, into that remove form, and use the science facilities of Queen's College. A colonial government was able to create an educated scientific elite by putting in front of students the resources, the laboratories. This is something we have to do at the University of Ghana and in all secondary schools throughout the country if we are to become, as the Swamiji says, a really developed nation. It's good to study history, good to study poetry, but it's more important if you want to develop this country for us to produce scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians. I encourage you, therefore, graduating class of 2015, to remember to recognize the value of education, particularly the value of the education received here at SVN. Don't forget, as the guest speaker said, the noble motto of SVN: speak the truth, practice righteousness, do not neglect studying and learning and teaching. I wish you all a good life. Congratulations, and may God bless you all.